Hey everyone, my name's Allie, and welcome back to my channel, Mindful Living. If you're interested in unique recipes, gardening, and growing your own food, along with finding joy in the ordinary like me, then make sure to hit that subscribe button as I upload new videos every week. I wanted to apologize for being absent on my channel for the last couple weeks, but today I'm really excited to be back with a brand new harvest and recipe video. I'll be sharing a few tips on how to grow Swiss chard in containers, and make sure to stick around for the end of the video where I'll be sharing one of my favorite Swiss chard recipes. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so I started my Swiss chard plants from seed indoors back in the springtime, and the variety I'm growing here is called Bright Lights. So you can have anything from red, white, yellow, and orange hues growing, and I ended up growing 2 yellow and 1 white. Okay, so Swiss chard is really easy to grow in containers. It's one that I recommend you try if you're a beginner, or even if you're not. It's one of my favorites to have in the garden because it is very adaptable. So Swiss chard can thrive in temperatures from 50 to 85 degrees Fahrenheit or 10 to 30 degrees Celsius, so it has a fairly long growing season, and while it does prefer to be planted in the cooler weather, the plant can also withstand some heat, and it is heat tolerant. You do want to grow this in partial shade though, because the leaves can become bitter if it's blasted by the afternoon sun and heat, so I do leave this in an area that gets some afternoon shade and just some morning sunshine, and I've had really good luck growing my Swiss chard this way. As for your container, you want to use a container that's about 10 to 12 inches wide, and Swiss chard does have a more shallow root system, so you don't need a very deep container. I would say about 8 inches deep. The wider the container, the more plants you're able to grow. And you can plant multiple plants per container. I do have 3 growing in this medium-sized container here. Just make sure that you place your plants about 3 to 4 inches apart, and also keep in mind the more plants that you put in one container, this will cause your Swiss chard leaves to grow a bit smaller. So if you do want larger Swiss chard leaves, then make sure to only plant 1 plant in the container, and your plant will get very large if you do that, whereas I prefer to have multiple plants with smaller leaves. So do whatever works best for you. You want to make sure that all of your containers have drainage holes so you do not waterlog your plant, and make sure you're watering your plant regularly. You don't want to let the soil dry out, and make sure you're checking on it, especially on those days you know it's going to be really hot out. Swiss chard is ready to harvest in anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks. You can be enjoying tons of fresh, delicious Swiss chard. They're really fast to grow, and you can harvest the smaller baby leaves as well if you want to pluck it off earlier than that. Make sure that you're taking the outer leaves first so you keep the plant growing in the middle, and it'll continue to produce for you throughout the whole spring, summer, and fall season. I've had this one plant growing since April, and I've gotten many harvests off of it. My most recent harvest I'm going to go ahead and show you guys here, and then I'm going to take my leaves into the kitchen and show you my favorite Swiss chard recipe. This is the harvest I got off my plants today. This is from 3 of my Swiss chard plants, and there's quite a lot of Swiss chard here, so let's get into the kitchen and get to washing all this. For this recipe, I like to use the largest size leaves that I have, and if you have them even larger than this, it's even better, but I do have 3 growing in my container, like I said, so the leaves are a little bit smaller. I'm just going to give them a quick rinse here, and then I use some paper towel to pat it all dry. You could also use a salad spinner, but you would have to chop off the ends of your Swiss chard. So this recipe is going to be a little different. It's my take on cabbage rolls, but we'll be using Swiss chard in replace of the cabbage. So really, they're called Swiss chard rolls. To begin, you want to start chopping the ends off your Swiss chard. These are edible, and they will be used in the recipe today. They'll be going in the cabbage roll filling. From there, I'm also going to be slicing a shallot, and I'm doing this really thin. Once you're done chopping, you're going to move on to making the sauce that's going to go over the Swiss chard rolls. For the sauce, I'm using 1 can of diced tomatoes and 1 can of tomato sauce. And to that, we're just adding 2 tablespoons of brown sugar, 1 tablespoon of white vinegar, and give it all a really good mix. Really simple, easy sauce there. For your filling for the Swiss chard rolls, you will need some extra lean ground beef, and I'm just seasoning that with some salt and pepper. You can season this to your taste. And we're gonna start to brown that on the stove. Go ahead and start breaking up the ground beef as you're doing this. And we're gonna add a few things into the filling today. The first thing is obviously the stems of the Swiss chard. This adds lots of nice delicious flavor and nutrition. We'll also be adding in the shallot, which I finely chopped. And make sure to give that all a good stir. You're going to continue to cook this until your ground beef is cooked all the way through. I'm also adding in some fresh parsley. This is also from my garden. You could use dried if you don't have it fresh, but this just adds a lot of nice fresh flavor to the dish. And the last thing we'll be adding is 2 cloves of garlic. I like it pretty garlicky. If you're not a huge garlic lover, you can feel free to just do 1 clove. Next, we're adding in 1 cup of cooked white rice and 1 cup of our sauce. We'll be saving the rest of the sauce to top the dish at the end before it goes in the oven, so you can just put that aside. Make sure to give the rice and sauce a really good stir into your filling here. And we're gonna get ready to assemble our Swiss chard rolls. So this is really easy. You're literally going to lay your piece of Swiss chard down, top it with a little bit of filling, and then roll it up like you would a cabbage roll. If you have larger pieces of Swiss chard, it's a lot easier as you're able to tuck the ends in, but mine were not that big this time. If a little bit of the filling starts to fall out the end, it's no problem, just push it right back in because we are going to be tightly packing these into a baking dish. Make sure you don't put too much filling as you want to have enough for all of your rolls. This recipe ended up making 12 rolls here. It will make anywhere from 10 to 12 depending on how big your Swiss chard leaves are. This one is a little bit bigger, you can see, so it's a little bit easier to roll up, and I can put a little more filling in the ones that are bigger. So go ahead and roll up all of your Swiss chard leaves, and once you're done, it should look something like this. You want to make sure to pack them all in really nice and tight. And then we're going to go ahead and just pour the sauce that we made on the top here. Make sure to pour all the sauce on the top as it will fill the whole dish. And from there, I'm just adding some fresh parsley to the top here as well. We're going to go ahead and place that in the oven at 350 for 30 minutes, and once it's done, it should look something like this. Make sure to check on your dish as it's cooking, as ovens can vary. This is a brand new recipe I'm trying out, and I'm absolutely obsessed. I plan to make this a few more times before my Swiss chard is done for the season. I hope you guys will give this recipe a try. Please leave me a comment down below if you plan to, or if you do. I hope if you enjoyed this video today, you'll leave me a like, hit that red subscribe button, it really does help to support me and my channel. Thank you so much for watching. See you in my next one.